There we go. All right. Happy Friday. Look, I apologize. This week I've not been so great at going live, but we are rectifying that today with today's live training. So I had the suggestion come through from a a LinkedIn follower. I want to make sure I give them a shout out. So I'm just going to quickly find their handle. And they had a really good question, and I get asked about this quite a bit. So I thought it'd be a great topic to cover because if one person is asking about it, chances are a lot of people have the same very similar questions. So this is from, let me get the pronunciation correct, Reshvina from Instagram. Um, Thank you for your suggestion. I'll have to tag her and make sure she sees this. So what should you eat before exercise? What should you eat before training? And what should you eat after training? I forget that you guys have these questions because I feel like I have these conversations a lot with my clients, but I don't really put it out there on platforms as readily available information at your fingertips. So, note to self, I'm going to do that a little bit more. Thank you for the reminder. And when it comes to exercise, you can absolutely optimize your performance and maximize your results by ensuring that you fuel yourself and hydrate yourself correctly. That shouldn't surprise anyone. But if it does, hi, you must be new here. If you have any questions, of course, leave them for me to see, make sure that I can touch on them and fill in any gaps that I may create in my ranting and rambling. But to begin, when it comes to optimizing your performance in the gym, there's a few things we want to think about. We want to think about the type of exercise you're doing. The more intense it is, the higher your demand and need for carbohydrates is going to be. Okay, so if you're doing a HIIT class, I don't necessarily recommend that. You probably know that, but if you are, you're going to need more carbs than if you were to do a yoga or Pilates class, just because the nature of each activity is a little bit different, with obviously the HIIT class being of a greater intensity. So that is one thing you really need to factor in first. How intense is the exercise? The second point that comes to mind is what is the duration on that activity? Similar situation, the longer the activity, the greater your factoring in of carbs will need to be. So your carb requirement is going to be greater, of course, if you're running a marathon versus if you're going for a 30-minute walk around the block, because a marathon is going to take you a lot longer. Shouldn't surprise anyone. This is where intra training, hydration, and carbohydrate intake can play a critical role. You may see triathlon athletes, marathon runners, Iron men, Iron women taking in those gels during their race, and that's to get in those carbs that really easy to digest, very accessible, very quick to break down glycogen. So that's what they're getting in, right? That is really, really, really important when we are doing longer duration exercise. Now, if you are going to the gym and working out with your trainer for an hour, my typical recommendation is going to be get your body weight. Now, get 75% of that number. Okay, so 75% of your body weight in grams of carbohydrates 1 hour to 90 minutes before training is typically the sweet spot for most people. Now, this is where you need to pay attention to yourself. Obviously, every person is different. Everyone has a different requirement for protein, for fats, for carbs, and the different types of foods that digest well for you. I don't want to tell you what a quote unquote good carb is or a quote unquote bad carb is. I'm not going to tell you what type of carb you should have necessarily, because you need to pay attention to how you digest these foods. Now, how do you know if you're digesting the food well? Great question. And this is another topic I need to cover in greater detail more often, I feel. If a food feels good when you consume it, that's a good starting point. Okay, if you like the taste, if you like the flavor, if you like the texture, when it goes down, you're not getting brain fog, you don't feel slowed down, you don't feel heavy, you don't feel bloated, you don't feel like you have acid reflux, you don't feel like you have indigestion, that's a pretty good sign. Now, two, you have to factor in what can contribute to good digestion versus not so great digestion. So, how you digest when you are stressed can start to change and alter the experience. How you digest foods after caffeine versus no caffeine, on an empty stomach versus with a little bit of food in you. So, the first meal of the day versus the second meal of the day. Have you just had a snack? Are you fasting? Something I also don't really recommend, but anyway, um, you have to factor in all these things. It's not just so simple as to say we always digest things the same way. Personally, if I go 5 hours without eating, I have a really hard time digesting food, and I have to be very, 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 very particular about what I eat when I do actually eat after 5 hours. I can't just eat anything. For me, raw food, horrendous. Cold food, horrendous. It has to be basically baby food. It has to be mushy, pre digested, liquefied, and warm, ideally. Yeah, it just, I've learned that over time. But again, this isn't me paying attention to my body. This is what I've picked up on. And that's what I've noticed about me. You are going to be probably different because you are different, and that's great. That's what makes you you. So keep doing that. Um, but that's worth highlighting. So just to revisit those metrics, pre exercise, so 60 to 90 minutes before training, we want to get 75% of your body weight in grams. So a person who weighs 60 kilograms, that's going to be 45 grams of carbs. Are you with me so far? Am I making sense? Any confusion? Let me know. I appreciate the purple love heart on from the Facebook user. It's not telling me what your name is. So to the beautiful random Facebook user, thank you so much, and love heart right back at you. That is a terrible love heart. That's a bit better. So yes, okay, thank you. Paying attention, making sense. What does that look like? If we think about what does 45 grams of carbs look like? Great question. Depends. Again, depends on how you digest and what feels good for you. Obviously, some people are gluten intolerant, so there goes bread. Unless it's gluten-free bread, of course. Some people do really well on heavier carbs, so the slow digesting carbs. Some people do better on the quicker, faster absorbing carbs. I like to go a little bit of both and figure out what feels good. Personally, some of my go-tos, not just for my clients, also myself, are bananas. Bananas. I don't know. I'm half Canadian. We say things differently in Canada and Australia. I just say whatever comes to mind. But you know what I mean. The medium banana is going to be roughly 23 to 25 grams of carbohydrates. So if you are 60 kilograms or thereabouts, you need 45 grams of carbs before a PT session, before a HIIT workout. If you're having a medium-sized banana, you're more than halfway there, which is great. If you can digest sourdough, then a slice of sourdough would be a great addition. And hell, why not combine the two? Because that's just fun. You can slice the banana and put it on top of a piece of sourdough. If you're feeling a little bougie and a little experiential, you can even put a small drizzle of honey on top. So that's one medium slice of sourdough with a medium banana sliced on top. Just for fun, drizzle a little bit of honey on top, bippity boppity boop. You got yourself some great pre-workout carbs. Yeah, that should be pretty substantial. That's pretty good. Some other examples. I know we're in Asia. I'm in Asia. This is Singapore. Hello from Singapore. 100 grams of long grain white rice is going to yield approximately 28 grams of carbohydrates. So look, you're more than halfway there. If you are 60 kilograms, this is going to be a great option. To add to this, you may want to have, let's say, a date, a pitted date. Dates are very, very, very sweet, but a great accessible source of carbohydrates before your workout. So people who don't like bananas, I tend to then opt for dates because they, again, are very sweet, but very potassium rich, as are bananas. And potassium is an electrolyte. So it's going to help you stay hydrated. It's going to help draw the water into the cell, which is excellent because hydration is not just water, it's your body's ability to utilize that water and get it where it's needed. That's the role of electrolytes, essentially. So common electrolytes are potassium, which we get in avocados, bananas, dates. I don't really recommend avocado before a workout. I'm not against it. It's just not quite what your body needs at that point. Calcium, magnesium, and sodium. Sodium, more commonly known as salt. Okay. Dates are going to have 16 grams of carbs or thereabouts per date. So if you're 60 kilograms, you need 45 grams of carbs before your workout. What does that look like? It looks like 3 dates. Or you could go 2 dates and coconut water. Coconut water per cup is going to give you 6 to 8 grams of carbs, okay? Which is excellent because coconut water, again, is very, very, very mineral dense. It's very electrolyte heavy, which we love because, again, electrolytes are going to help you to hydrate. And we want to always exercise in a hydrated state. You should be drinking water on the way to your session, on the way to your class, on the way to be tortured by yours truly. It's a little late if you only start drinking once you are there. Your body needs that beforehand, okay? So sipping your coconut water on the way to training after you've had your 2 dates or your banana on toast with a bit of honey is an excellent, excellent, excellent idea. Some other examples: pasta, whole wheat cooked pasta per 100 grams is going to give you 26 grams of carbohydrates. So if you're to have 150 grams, that's obviously going to get you close to that 45 gram mark, getting you roughly 36, 39, 40, yeah, more or less 40 grams of carbs right there. Personally, I like whole wheat pasta because it digests well for me. I feel that it's substantial enough. It feels, that's just the best word I can come up with. It feels like enough. I feel the effects of it during my workout. I don't feel like I eat it and then it's just vanished. My body didn't even notice. And that's how I feel about potato. I've tried having potato as my source of carb. I just don't feel like the glycemic load is there in the same way that it is for whole wheat pasta. That's just me personally. And my workouts tend to be 2 hours. If I'm doing legs, then it might even be longer than that. It might be closer to 2.5, maybe a little bit longer if it's a bad day. Okay. So, or if I've just really gone to town and if I'm just absolutely punishing myself in the gym, if I'm getting carried away, then it might be a little bit longer. So that's worth noticing. And again, these are all personal things. I can't tell you which carb is the one you should have. All I can point out to you is you need to factor in the intensity of your exercise and the duration. So again, on my leg day, which tends to be Mondays and Fridays, yay, I will often have coconut water halfway through my workout just to keep my blood sugar where I want it to be, because I do start to feel that drop about halfway through the session. And legs, biggest muscles in the body, they're going to use a ton of glycogen. They are going to have that requirement. It's really important that we give the body that fuel during exercise and not just going, oh, I'm starting to get a metallic taste in my mouth. I'm starting to get lightheaded. I'm starting to feel really woozy and feeling really, like I could pass out any minute now. No, we want to mitigate that. We want to be really proactive when it comes to that. I'll often have half a liter, if not a liter, of coconut water with me to sip on from about halfway through my training until the end. And I may even continue to sip on that after my training, again, to help supplement those electrolytes to keep my hydration at a nice healthy range. So there's some common forms of carbohydrates. What you need to factor in, of course, is if you are working out in the evening and you're having lunch at normal lunchtime, which is like 12, those carbs are not really available to the body anymore. And this is where I see a lot of people kind of fall down with their nutrition, is they'll have lunch and they may have carbs at lunch, and that's fine, but they're not training until 6 p.m. And those carbs are just not there. They've been used, they've gone, they came, they Soleil Conquered, and Bye Felicia. So what we really want to do is, if you are training in the evening in particular, at lunchtime, you may just want to have protein and veg and have some carbs closer to your workout time. Again, depending on the person, but usually 60 to 90 minutes is a nice sweet spot. It's a nice amount of time to digest without feeling like the food may come up. We all know that unsettled feeling where the food is kind of at the bottom of the throat. It's not so nice. When we have that 60 to 90-minute window to digest, typically that is not there. So 60 to 90 minutes, good starting point. If we wait longer than that, again, the carbs are just not so accessible to the body. And again, you have to think about the form of carbs too. So the closer to training you're having your carbs, typically the sweeter and easy to break down you want those carbs to be. For my clients, easy one is just a banana. You can get it from 7-Eleven. A lot of workplaces will have a fruit bowl or a fruit basket with bananas in them. Yes, they're very sugary and very sweet, and that in this instance is a good thing. You shouldn't fear bananas for being sweet and sugary. You should just learn how and when to eat them. I mean, as in what makes sense. And it makes a lot of sense to have a banana 90 minutes before training, 60 minutes before training. That's going to give you, again, depending on the size, but at least 23 to 26 grams of carbs, and that's really, really, really good starting point. Thereafter, coconut water, the 330 ml is going to yield about 8 grams of carbs, which is not bad. Look, that gets you to about 33, if not 35 grams of carbs, and ideally we're getting about 3/4 of your body weight in grams before training. There's a lot of numbers floating around my head in case you haven't noticed. So if my math seems off, just do let me know. Now, when it comes to post-training, after your workout, what do we do? Do we need to replenish your carbs? Depends. Again, you have to think about the intensity of your exercise and the duration of your exercise. They're the two determining factors of whether you need to replenish your carbs. For most people, if you get enough carbs before training, I would say no, not really, because most people just don't train that hard and they don't train long enough to really warrant the need to then carb up after training. So for me, I would much rather a person go a little heavier on the carbs before training. That's just when your body is going to make the most of them and really utilize them during the workout. You don't need to have a bowl of pasta or a gigantic bowl of rice or noodles after exercise, unless, of course, you've done a marathon, an Ironman, a 4-hour CrossFit workout, as a few examples. So for the most part, no, not really. Should you get carbs in the meal or snack after training? Not the end of the world if you do. It's not, but your body is probably going to be looking for protein. That is more likely the nutrient, the macronutrient that your body is going to be gravitating towards after exercise. For me, what my typical suggestion and recommendation is that you get 1/3 of your body weight in grams in protein after exercise. I hope I'm keeping things simple. I hope people are not like, what's so much maths today? Why so much maths? I forgot to pack my calculator. Easy example, if a person is 60 kilograms, that looks like 20 grams of protein post-training. Now, this needs to be consumed within 3 hours after training. That's it. You don't have to worry about the 30-minute anabolic window. No. So don't be in a panic. Don't force the food down. Give yourself time to cool down after training and return to the normal heart rate, normal body temperature before consuming those calories. Often people feel a little too nauseous to eat after training. That's perfectly understandable. The body likes to do one thing well at a time. So it doesn't like to exercise and digest simultaneously. It's just a bit too much. And you probably know that feeling where you feel a bit icky, irksome, unsettled during training when the food has not had enough time to digest properly. So make sure you're getting that protein within 3 hours after training. For me, I really encourage people to get that 90 minutes after training where possible, just to, start that muscle protein synthesis. So where your body is going to take that protein, send it to the muscles, help you to repair and recover and refuel. That is always a really helpful way to recover, because if you've been lifting weights, your body is going to want to start the repair process. Your body is going to want to start to repair all the damage that you've done during training. It's going to want to return to its normal homeostasis. It's going to want that support from the protein, of course, the protein being the building blocks to the muscle. That is really what the body needs in terms of nutritional support, as well as hydration. Yes, friends, hydration. We need to remember that when we are exercising, for every 1 liter lost in fluid, we need to replace that at a ratio of 2 to 1, not 1 for 1. Okay. So let's say you're a psycho and you go for a run midday in Singapore and you lose 1 kilogram of sweat, so fluid. You need to replace that liter with 2. It's not 1 for 1, it's actually 2 for 1. So factoring that in, it's really important we start exercise again in a hydrated state. And what I like to do, a really great tip that I got from Ahmed Ida, he's a sports nutritionist. Yeah, I think he's a sports nutritionist. Don't quote me on that, but I've done 2 podcasts with him. One was on cholesterol, and one was actually on things such as magnesium and hydration and electrolytes. He suggested putting a good pinch of sea salt to your water before exercise, because salt, sodium is an electrolyte. So especially if you live in this climate, or if you live in a tropical climate, if you live in a hot climate, or if you just sweat a lot, which, that happens. I'm a very sweaty human. Add a good pinch of sea salt to your water before exercise. That is a really great way to pre-hydrate. And again, you'll perform a ton better if you start hydrated versus dehydrated. Additionally, what I've already touched on is coconut water. Coconut water can be excellent. It does have sugar, naturally occurring sugars. It's not the end of the world. It's not terrible for you. Just be mindful of how much you drink. Okay, so if you're looking for coconut water, get the one which is just coconut water, not coconut water with sugar or various other ingredients and substances, just the pure coconut water. When it comes to hydration, I mentioned that we need electrolytes. And so what I like to do is supplement with magnesium at nighttime. Magnesium is a very common electrolyte, and it's also a very common nutritional deficiency. It is quite challenging to get enough magnesium through food, through diet. Depleting soil quality throughout the world just makes it hard to get enough from our food. So magnesium-rich food is not as magnesium-rich as it once were. And what we really want to do is ensure we're getting enough magnesium, because it is critical in over 200, if not 300, enzymatic functions that the body performs every single day. So if you are low in magnesium, and chances are you are, unless you're supplementing, chances are you'll notice a serious difference by including that into your daily supplement stack. For me, my typical recommendation is 400 milligrams with dinner every single, night. Usually we have dinner at nighttime. And do look at the type of magnesium you're having. They're not created equally. The cheaper magnesiums are going to be magnesium oxide and citrate. Not so great. I like the bisglycinate, potato, or magnesium threonate. My favorite one in Singapore is from Proteus Nutrition, Proteus. Their magnesium bisglycinate, complete game changer. I recommend it to all my clients, and they all notice an improvement in their sleep quality within a week of starting that supplement. Of course, if you sleep better, you recover better, and who doesn't want good sleep? I mean, good sleep is just such a game changer, and I know a ton of people have trouble sleeping. So magnesium all the way, magnesium every single night. Even if you didn't train, I recommend 400 mg at least of magnesium bisglycinate, or magnesium threonate at dinner. It does make you a bit sleepy, so it's not a breakfast item, yeah, like not breakfast. It is definitely at the end of the day. That's hydration. Now, hydration, yes, it's not just how much water you drink, it is whether you're getting enough electrolytes as well. How much water do I suggest? If you're in Singapore, especially if you're active, and especially if you're active outdoors and you're sweating a lot, I do recommend for the quote unquote average adult 4 liters a day. Does that freak anyone else out? I know that sounds like a lot, but here's the thing. We sweat so much in Singapore. And again, if you're active outdoors, chances are you're losing at least half a kilo, if not a kilo, of sweat during exercise when you're training outside. So, although you might already have 2 liters a day, if you're losing a liter through sweat, you then need another 2 liters. And that's already 4 liters for the whole day. Okay. So, that to me is the number that most people in this environment, climate, humid, tropical, hot, and then again, if you're active, need to aim for, it's 4 liters a day. Yeah, scary number. But, bit by bit. If you know that you get 2 liters at the moment, try and get to 2.5, or try and get to 3. Once you get to 3, try and get to 3.5, and then 4, and build over time. It's not going to happen overnight. Behavioral change takes a lot of time. It takes at least 66 days to form a new habit, so be patient with yourself. I like to just keep water everywhere around me. I have a gigantic 2-liter water bottle right outside. I have a big tumbler in my ensuite. I have obviously cups in the kitchen. I tend to keep a water bottle on my dining room table and or near my coffee table as well. And that really helps to be that visual reminder to drink more. And I probably get through about 6 liters a day. So, but bit by bit, guys. Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention when it comes to optimizing your performance in the gym, and you've heard me talk about this 1,000 times, but maybe you're new here, maybe you need to hear this again. Getting enough protein makes a critical difference. In fact, I received a lovely message from one of my clients yesterday telling me about how strong she felt in the gym and how she managed to increase all the weights she was lifting because we've worked so hard to increase her protein intake. Sufficient protein intake, yeah, very few people are ticking that box, but a lot of people just don't know any better, so who's to blame them? Enough protein for an active adult is going to look like 1.5 grams per kilogram of what you weigh every single day. Easy example, if you weigh 60 kilograms, that looks like 90 grams of protein every single day. Not 90 grams of chicken breast, because 90 grams of chicken breast is not 90 grams of protein. No, it's not. 90 grams of chicken breast is about 24 grams of protein. Roughly 26 grams of protein. So that's a good start, but it's definitely not enough. This is going to help, again, body to repair, recover. You're not going to be as sore for as long when you're giving the body enough protein. You're going to feel stronger in the gym. It's going to be obviously easy to lift more weights, heavier weights, because your body has, again, that building block to building that muscle mass. The more of you that's muscle, the easier it is to burn more calories, even when you're standing still, even when you're sleeping. So it has a really positive domino effect in a lot of different directions of your health and fitness. So in addition to carbs, we want to think about protein. We prefer carbs before exercise. And again, for me, for most of my clients, my typical suggestion is 3/4 of their body weight in grams of carbs 60 to 90 minutes before training. And then after training, 1/3 of their body weight in grams in protein. So if you're 60 kilos, that looks like 20 grams of protein after training within 3 hours of finishing whatever form of exercise that may be. That could be a protein shake. Typically, a protein shake will yield 20 to 25 grams of protein if it's with water. If it's with milk, whether that's cow milk, almond milk, you're going to get at least 2, if not 3 more grams of protein from almond milk or oat milk. A little bit more if it's from actual cow's milk. It could look like, let's say, 80 grams of chicken breast. It could look like 100 grams of beef mince. The main thing is that it feels like it's digesting well for you. So it's comfortable in the stomach. If it's comfortable in the stomach and you like the taste, even better. No bloating, no sense of heaviness, no indigestion, acid reflux, um, no brain fog, which I should have known that because I just had brain fog. No brain fog, so not impacting mental clarity or cognition. These are the signs to look out for. Okay, if you're having those symptoms, the foods you're consuming may not be so conducive to optimal digestion. And again, if you're not digesting well, you're probably not absorbing all the nutrients from that food, in which case that's just another source of stress to the body and something you can do without. Okay, no one needs more stress. So we always want to gravitate towards foods that feel good once we eat them. They feel good in the stomach, the brain feels good for eating them, the body feels good for consuming them. No bloating, no slowing down, no heaviness, no digestion, no acid reflux, no distended stomach, etc., etc. They're the signs to watch out for. And then my third point being hydration. Always hydrate before training, hydrate during training, and remember to continue to hydrate after training. It's not a one and done situation. We should be starting to hydrate when we get up in the morning, making a concerted effort to hydrate before training, at least 60 minutes before training where possible, sipping on your water or coconut water in the taxi on the way to training or in the car on the way to training, and continuing to hydrate thereafter, because every liter lost through sweat needs to be replaced at a ratio of 2 to 1. So if I lose a kilogram sweating during my workout, I need 2 liters to sufficiently replace that. Electrolytes can really help us to hydrate, and the common ones being salt, so adding a good quality pinch of sea salt to your water. I like Celtic. It tends to be the most mineral dense. So Celtic, CELTIC. You can get it off iHerb. You can get it on Lazada. It's very easy to find. It's in health food stores. It's in Scoop Whole Foods. And so in Singapore, no excuse. You can absolutely get good salt. The other common ones being magnesium. So as I mentioned, supplementing magnesium, bisglycinate, bisglycinate, 3 and 8 in the evening, 400 milligrams with dinner is tremendously helpful every single night, even if you don't exercise, as well as potassium, which you can get from bananas, which you can get from whole grains, which you can get from dates, as well as coconut water, and calcium, which we get obviously from dairy, is a great source. Some from almonds, and some from sardines, if I'm not mistaken, though don't quote me on that, okay? I hope you found that to be helpful. If you liked this, make sure you comment to let me know so I can create more content surrounding this topic and this theme. I always want to talk about what you want to hear about, so send me your suggestions. I love receiving suggestions and examples of people's challenges, because then I can speak on that and speak to that and create content of value. So if you enjoyed this, let me know, comment, share, like, subscribe. You know the deal, and I look forward to seeing you in the next live. Thank you so much for watching.